invite our three guests up right away so we can get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have writer, director Ronan Day-Lewis here. Writer and actor Dano Day-Lewis here. And actor Sean Bean here. Well, I just want to say that I thought the film was absolutely harrowing, haunting, bewitching, and beautiful. The performances were incredible, and Ronan, you know, one of the things that I was really impressed by was it had a young man's vigor, I think, in terms of some of the risks it was taking, the score, the energy, but it was also incredibly mature in its sense of cinema, you know, sort of using images, and I don't just mean sort of the grander images, I mean the hand on the axe, you know, or the that gorgeous benediction moment, you know, just using, and then just trusting your actors, these long dialogue scenes, you know, sort of incredible maturity in terms of how they were photographed and edited, and so I really loved the film, and I'm very impressed.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I have a lot of my own questions and curiosities, but I do want to and have to start at the beginning. So just Ronan, like the seed, the thing that thrust you forward, that lit your fire, that knew you were going to follow this through, where an image, a sound, a character, a story, like what's the what got you?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing was just the idea of brothers. Like for a few years, I'd had this. I have brothers and myself, as you know, and I had just an inkling of wanting to find a way into that archetype, a story that would kind of explore the beauty and tragedy of that. And I thought maybe at first it could be like a coming of age type story or something that felt closer to my world, but I couldn't really figure out a way in. And then when my dad and I started kind of casting around for potential projects to sort of latch onto, it turned out that he independently had this inclination to do something about brothers and the kind of silence that can exist between brothers. But I think the first image that I remember entering the script ended up being replicated pretty much exactly in the film, of just like pushing into the clearing and seeing this man just like alone in this strange place, like hacking at the roots. And there's something about that and the thing of being kind of drawn into the back of his head that felt really informative just for everything moving forward, just thematically, but also visually, and just the kind of mystery of this person and also this relationship. So yeah, that was kind of an initial seed, I think.
I think we actually made the decision to find something in a very abstract way. I mean, the brother theme, the idea of the estrangement, the reunion, the isolation, that was certainly something that kind of was swirling around from an early stage. But it was really with the pure intention of I had a yearning to work with Ronan, and I knew that having stopped working something else at that time, I hadn't sort of planned in any general way to go back into filmmaking at that time, but I just wanted to work with Ronan, and so we just started. We started from that seed, and we made one decision, which I think was a good one at a very early stage, is that we wouldn't try to write unless we were in the same room, which was complicated by the fact Ronan had recently graduated and was a full-time painter. I was working at something else at the time, and but so it took us probably much longer because of that. But we were always sat side by side, and we didn't really know where it would take us. It was And there were moments when we sort of go into that room, wherever it was, different places at different times, and we think, well, I don't know, we hadn't really imagined how we were going to move forwards with this story as it began to reveal itself. But I don't think we ever left the room without a new scene somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's true. I feel like something, even if it was a really minor idea or an image or a feeling or like a fragment of a scene, each time we came together, there was something that would kind of at least give us faith that there would be another thing. Just
lovely things which I hadn't really anticipated, but it just settled into a way of working quite quickly. And obviously the interlinking passages are slightly different, and Ro worked very hard on those, and I worked on them with him a good bit of the time, but all the dialogue came about through improvisation. So I think one of the advantages of that, which I hadn't anticipated, was that it was already the spoken word, and then it became the written word.
Get sort of roped in. What was there a casting process? What was the?
Yeah, I got roped into this project. I got a phone call from Daniel. I think I was just at home, laid on the bed watching TV, and it's just out of the voice. It's Daniel here, Daniel Day-Lewis. I went, oh wow. And we'd spoke before, hadn't we, briefly? Daniel had seen me in a couple of productions for the BBC, a Jimmy McGovern project called Time, which I did with Stephen Graham, and I think you're quite impressed by that. And that's the first time I spoke to you. And I was very flattered, obviously, to get a phone call from him and tell me how much he enjoyed my work. And but I never really expected to think of anything of that. And then I got a phone call, and kind of out of the blue, and it was really good to talk to him again. And he said, "I've got this project, this script. Would you be interested?" I said, "Yeah, I would." And then we chatted and. Got the script, and it's something I immediately, made an impact on me. Just the fact that it was about, very character-led and psychologically and physically very exciting. The prospect of working with Daniel and Ronan, indeed. On something that was on a film that didn't lead you by the hand and didn't rely on superficiality or special effects or other kind of tranquilments, and it was just a pure raw drama about the two brothers who gone their separate ways, and they had to go through chaos in that shed and to come out the other end. And so, I mean, I was just very impressed by the script and the prospect of working with Daniel. And it was totally wanted to be involved. Yeah.
And step together. How much did it change, in post-production compared to where you started? And just sort of what did you learn, experiencing editing for the first time on this scale?
Yeah, it was just a insane learning experience. Like, I was working with this masterful editor, Nathan Nugent, who had originally come from a documentary background, so he had this kind of freedom with structure that was at first kind of unnerving to me, where like seeing things get shuffled around and just feeling that volatility, I guess. But then once we leaned into that, it was really thrilling. And I think this strange thing happened where the structure, we ended up actually like finding our way into a few different, very, very different structures at one point, and then eventually it started to kind of get sucked back into the original sort of form that the script had been in. I mean, there were certain big structural changes that happened that stayed in there, but overall the general shape of it sort of there was, I guess, this kind of gravitational pull that sort of pulled us back into that direction. But it was a really, like, every day there was it felt like there were new kind of discoveries happening, so it was exciting.
And were you involved as a writer, actor?
Basically, it was a nuisance, and everything. Yeah, but it was a wonderful time because haphazardly, Ronan was told he could cut the film in Dublin. which was a surprise. We filmed it in Wales. It's set in North Yorkshire. We filmed it in Wales. Ronan cut it in Dublin. So the whole family, his younger brother was there during that time. The whole family was in Ireland during that period of more or less a year, or for us 6-7 months. And it was just a delightful time being able to go into Dublin and, you know, spend time looking at what Ronan was working at, and then make ourselves scarce. And yeah, it's wonderful.
That's so sweet. All right, my last very brief question. Can you tell us, I believe the scene where you guys are dancing is to score. What song were you actually dancing?
Paranoid by Box.
God knows.
Do you not
Can you remember?
It was Paranoid by Box Sabbath.
Ah, okay. All right. Good.
Oh, I knew it was.
All right, well, thank you guys. The film, thank you so much.